Okay. We are in lesson number 4. So I think you got the handout right now, and so you will see that it's a deeper study of one of the levels that we looked at, I think, last Sunday or maybe a little bit the week before. But we started out by talking about reasons to increase our faith. We looked at faith itself, what it is, and then we looked at levels of faith. And we said that there is the imitating faith, there is the affiliating faith, there is the strengthening faith, the solidifying faith, and the mature faith. We looked at examples, a few. There's a lot more. I always like to learn from authors, but I also like to think of other people of my own, memory that just come to mind. And you can always do that with God's Word. And so I like to bring those to class just because y'all have got his thoughts. But we'll expound on the first of those this morning with imitating faith. Who wants to tell me what imitating faith is? Okay. What's the primary place or primary set of people that we will see that are in this stage of faith? Okay. Kinda through their children. And so that will really be our angle today, because we said that children are imitators, that God actually made them that way. And I have said, you probably heard me say it more than one occasion, that up to around the age of 7, that kids are in pretty much primarily the theta brainwave state. And I saw some information this week or the week before that said actually even up to 10 years that they are in a state of hypnosis, where they're being subject to have imprinted upon them things to help them navigate life, learn about themselves, have perspectives, and view the world. That's why God told Moses to tell the people in Deuteronomy 6 through 9, that teach the children the word, write his statutes, carve them upon the table of their heart, like a table of stone. He wanted them to pound away, engrave, like the 10 Commandments on the stone that, well, Moses broke them, but they were intended not to be able to go away. They were going to be the example of God's word. The same today, yesterday, and forever. The heaven and earth will pass away, but his word will abide forever. So he wants us to write the word in such a way so that upon their heart it's permanent, it is deeply engraved, that it's beautiful, that it's ornate, that it in and of itself is a structure. Think about it being a table. You look at people that are just marvelous craftsmen, and you look at somebody from the 11th century who made a table or a desk, and you think, wow, what a craftsman. To be able to pick the wood and get it at the right time and handle the wood in such a way so that, it creates these grains and has this structure and strength and has these unique features. But then also to be such a craftsman that can devise, unique pieces of the furniture itself, little secret compartments, or make it very useful and functional, but also just beautiful artistry work. And then here, 500-600 years later, there's this beautiful piece of furniture that somebody put, that's a lasting legacy, that's a testament, though nobody will see that person's face, to who that person was. And we have the opportunity to help do that with our children. And since it is assumed that if adults are going over this material, then they've got some level of faith that they've probably been doing it long enough to where they want to increase it. That's why they're looking at how to develop or increase their faith. And so we probably won't be in this stage, though if you're like me, everything that you could process, you could go through, whether it's, stages of grief or just growing up or personal maturity or whatever. And I kind of go back through cycles, and I don't ever stay just in one place very long. We should stay in a strengthening and solidifying. That's the whole point of solidifying. And mature is that stable, grounded, rooted, secure faith that just can't be shaken. And that's where we're moving toward, but we know it's a process. And all of us would probably say that the characters in our life that really set that example. We probably had some. It's universal for us to have some of these in our life, whether it's teachers or family members or just somebody, that always tell us what they think we ought to do. They're the bossy pants. They're the oldest, or they're the one left in charge, and so they're doing the squawking. Maybe they take it on their self to do it, and they're worried about everybody else and trying to tell them something. We've got all kinds of situations in life where we have to begin to decide what to choose. And so that's part of the process of life. And that's why Christ said, when they tried to keep the children from going to him, no. Yeah, we've got important things to do, and I'm going to teach the gospel to some people, might even heal some people, but we can take some time for the children. And so be aware that we need to be more like children. And whoever offends one of these little ones, whoever imprints upon them in such a way as to harm them, discourage them, put a stumbling block in front of them, better for them to have a millstone tied around their neck and thrown into the depths of the sea. I don't know about you, but that sounds like a pretty scary picture. And that's the pleasant one to choose. And so that should weigh upon us the seriousness, the gravity of imprinting upon little ones. And we all have the opportunity, whether we're a parent or grandparent, whether we have been, whether we will be, we all have the opportunity to be, if you have a faith, if you aren't yet, that's okay. There's time to, God's blessed you with time for us to talk about it, and so we can increase in that, and that's what we hope we'll all do. So if you're new to that, then just be open. That's how you learn. Faith comes by hearing, and hearing by the Word of God. So use your intellect to look at the facts, and then you choose. If there's things about people that you like, well, then pay attention to it. I remember one of my friends in Colorado, I was getting ready to move and go to preaching school. And we had been friends for a long time. We had a big group, still very good friends, all of us. And they had come over for dinner, him and his girlfriend, and I think maybe Alana's first birthday. And he and I were hanging out afterwards, and he said, I think it was his second birthday. He was telling me how much he appreciated me, and some of the qualities he really admired about me. And this guy was just a great guy and so kind, but this was a unique. He knew I was going to leave, and so he was just telling me these things, and I told him. I remember it kind of caught me off guard, and it did make me feel good. But I remember saying, Mason, if there's anything you like about me, if there's anything you admire about me or you appreciate or some quality I have, buddy, it ain't me. That's Christ. That's the influence of Christ upon me by other people. That's, me trying to be like Christ and stumbling up and getting it right sometimes. And, he'd been around me long enough to know some of my shortcomings. And I said, the things about me that you might not like or that you might be ashamed of, or that, have been in my life. Yep, that's me. But I appreciate you. So I'm just trying to be like him, and you ought to be like him. And pray that I get to talk to him. He's been on my mind lately, so hopefully him and I can catch up. One of our friends, we have had talks in such a way that we can influence over time. Because some of these influences, they won't happen overnight. And I'm going to interject this. I want to spend more time at the end on this. But Paul even used, and ironically, before I even studied for the lesson, I had been thinking about Paul saying that he felt like a father at times. He had men like Timothy and Titus, and we've used them as examples and made references to them over the last week or two. And I was thinking about that relationship. Like Dad says, life on life, a mentor. Moses had Joshua. Somebody that was right there with them by their side, following them around. The only one allowed to go up to the mountain when Moses was up there. And they kind of mimic. Sometimes people say, fake it till you make it. I believe it's more mimic how you want to be. Go ahead and try to go through the motions. Do to the best of your ability what you think that would be if you could be the best that you could be, or be more. What does that look like? And so if we do that, it's not really faking it. It's like a baby trying to stand up and walk. You may take one, and may just stand up and do that and then plop back down. You've seen that happen. Or typically when the baby stands up and everybody goes, oh, they're going to take a step. Get the camera. They're like, no, I'm not. I'm going to wait till everybody quits watching, then I'm going to walk all the way across the living room, couch to couch. And there's that process in adults to do that too. And I have been blessed, so richly and wonderfully blessed. And so for any complaining or disgruntled attitude you've seen in me over the years, or hey, it wasn't because God didn't bless me. I truly believe this, but I feel this way, that God loved me like he loved Jesus in this way. He specially chose Joseph and Mary. He chose them. And I know that God chose my parents. He chose them. He's been forming me since the womb. He gave me this great family, this great community. People I've known my entire life. Some of the first eyes that I ever beheld, that don't even, as good as my memory is, don't ever remember greeting eyes for the first time, but I'm looking at some of them. And that process of life is such that, you see things over time. And my dad was loving enough to put life on life and carried me around to do visits. Took me to the older centers that sometimes weren't so great, especially back then, and they smelled funny. And even the hospital, kind of scary sometimes. And you go and watch people die, or go be with family and with somebody who has died, and you watch that, you witness that, and you see a person care for them in a time of need. You don't understand all those things. You watch parents sacrifice, give up a good job. Remember some of your earliest memories, probably 4 or 5, taking a putty knife and scraping up gum off of high school gym floors so that, your pop could do a second shift doing cleaning. I was wanting to do some work the other night. It was getting late. I didn't want to bother the neighbors. I thought, boy, I remember going and emptying trash with my dad at the phone company in Ruston. It had to be 2 or 3 in the morning. It's like, man, give me some space where I can go do something in the middle of the night if I'm restless. Those type of imprints up on a person that transitions to studying the scriptures, being horribly afraid to get in front of people and speak and practice week after week after week. Do it because they cared about the gospel. Watch people who give their entire life away to people that are dealing with issues that they don't even really understand. I mean, really don't understand, don't have a clue about. But trusting in the Lord that if they walk in heaven's light and shun the wrong and do the right. I remember the night my dad came home from the Memphis School of Preaching and taught us that song. I know the Lord will make a way for me. And it's been wonderful stepping into that place. I would say again, but when we do it again, it should feel like the first time again. It can feel like the first time again. Like a sermon I remember my dad preaching on, taste it again for the first time. Remember that Kellogg's commercial back in the 80s? Remember Dad preached a sermon on that. And when we develop our faith, we should get to that place so much so that when we ask ourselves, if I had it to do all over again, if I could go back to this time and know what I know now, what I would do, what I would tell myself. Well, somebody needs to tell so-and-so something. Boy, I tell you, when I was that age, if somebody would have straightened me out or give me that advice, hey, we got that opportunity. Every day the Lord blesses us with being above the dirt, on this side of the dirt, is a day that he can use us in his kingdom. And there's opportunities for us to go out and throw the seed. I don't know where, when that you'll have opportunity to do that, but we all providentially have our own place to be able to do it. There's children in this body. They might not be yours, but ask them after class what they learned. What'd you study in class? I don't remember. Give them the business. What do you mean you don't remember? Oh, you do too. Just think about it. You can't think of anything? Let me tell you what I learned in class tonight. Engaging in such a way, they might not know that they've got a table in their heart. They might, they surely don't understand that sometimes it's going to get uncomfortable. Sometimes it's going to be monotonous. Dad, do I have to go to church this week? I've heard you preach this sermon 6 times at least this week. Seriously. And that's one of the things that it even talks about in the lesson. This imitating faith, since it's going to assume that most of us are out of the stage of imitating faith, but have the opportunity to help someone else imitate us as we follow Christ, then it gave some suggestions about best ways to do that, or some of the things that they had learned along life's way, and hopefully we can talk about some of those, and hopefully you'll have some too. But one of them was letting your children play church. Like don't shame them if they outside of, give them a little leniency to be a kid. Get them to see that it's a certain atmosphere, that there's a certain holiness and reverence. We had a doctor in Meeker that was from Germany, and he talked with his German accent, and Dr. Kruger, and wonderful doctor, became one of my really good friends. And there was a couple times, occasions, especially for Stone, where he got busted up, needed some stitches, him and Alana. But Stone 2 or 3 times, he's more like his dad. I was involved with a couple of those. So no matter how they were, Dr. Kruger would come in and say, hello, Martins. Hello, Stone. Hello, Alana. Oh, what is going on today? Chasing Dad, huh? You tripped and hit your chin on the sidewalk? Oh, wrecked your bike? Well, what are we going to do? Let me look. Oh, that's a nasty little butt. What we're going to do is give you a little shot, maybe 2. It's going to be a pinch. It's going to hurt like a bee sting. That's not fun. But then he'll take it away, and then we'll sew it up just like your mama sews the pants. And you'll be just like new. And you can go to school and tell them how you came and saw Dr. Kruger and he gave you stitches. And as soon as he engaged them, they went from usually crying like, oh, I gotta go to the ER, shot. Hello, Stone. Not, it's okay, baby. Don't cry. And so, not that we can't be serious. I mean, that we can't be fun or silly. Stone, he could have a real conversation with Dr. Kruger. Right? Like the time he told him his dad knocked a hole in the wall. So next thing you know, Dr. Kruger's interrogating me on thinking I had some, anger issues or something, and I had tripped down the stairs, and we had an L in the bottom, or towards the bottom, and so since I lost my balance, my shoulder fell into the wall, and so I did knock a big hole in the wall. And so, anyway, he talked to Stone in such a way that they could have a real conversation. So by their presence, by his presence, he elevated them. So they wanted to be like Dr. Kruger. I wanted to be like my dad. And if you could count how many times Chad and Amy and Paul Martin had church service together. Chad was the song leader, and I was the preacher, and Amy came forward every single sermon and got baptized, or had said and done things that a Christian ought not say and do. So we said prayers and got it right, church. I mean, cannot tell you how many times we did that. Didn't let us partake of the Lord's Supper. Sometimes I do remember sitting by a teenage girl. She let me do it. But even that, it stood out. It was something special. And I remember feeling so big down in Ruston, probably 5 years old, thinking, I got to take the Lord's Supper. And my dad, he could get on to you. He could give you a good pinch or a thump on the back of your head that would make your ears ring, and get your attention real quick if he meant business. But he didn't do a lot of, hey, calm down, sit down, during the Lord's Supper. He sat there. He either read his scripture or he was in serious prayer. You could tell he was somewhere important. I remember I wanted to be there. I watched him and Mom read the words of the songs and talk about them afterwards. There was no, okay, yeah, no kids' church. Not that I'm saying that's wrong. There's a place for that. You let the kids do church. That's part of growing up. That's part of that imitating. Oh, let me have my imitation cookie set. Baking cookies. Go ahead. Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm. Yeah. Right. Something to wash that cracker down too. Yeah. 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 And I agree. And we should be mindful of it. And that'll be a part of our process too. As we grow, we will become aware that other people are watching us and that our example is, we are responsible for it. You know, it's like a person that gets to be famous. You know, at some point they want to be famous and they get famous and it's not what it's cracked up to be, but then if they continue to mature, they finally realize, hey, this is a responsibility. I've been entrusted and I'm in this platform and wow, I need to do something good with it. And it should be a natural part of our process to realize that people are watching us. And it'll be different for those that are, you know, malicious. They just want people to follow them. Oh, yeah. Oh, you need somebody to be the head elder? Well, you know, I do have a lot of experience and, you know, and next thing you know, you got a pope. You know, you got somebody that thinks that they're on top of everybody. So there's right ways and wrong ways to realize that we have an influence and we do wield power. How are we going to use that? And if we're doing it correctly, then we hardly even think about that. We don't think about, well, I better do this because so-and-so's watching me. If you're thinking that, then maybe you're doing something or not doing something normally or with the right attitude, so you're having to say, well, they're watching me, so I better do the right thing. I remember Uncle Arthur Lee, he worked on his cars, and I'd go out those shops with him when I was little, and if he'd smash his finger or something bad would go wrong, I'd always hear if he was going to say a bad word, you know, because you hear that, you know, hard-working men, you know, that's kind of just par for the course. And, well, I never could catch that rascal saying something he shouldn't say. And, hey, what a wonderful, wonderful thing. Because you get to a point where you're just living that way. So you don't have to think about, well, I need to do this. So-and-so's watching, so that's what Peter was doing. He was good with the Gentiles till the people from Jerusalem showed up. You know, it wasn't real as it should be. So when we're doing things for the right reason, in the right way, as God told us, we'll have a tendency to be able to put those worries and concerns about what other people are thinking about us, or if they're watching us, we'll want them to watch us, or we'll realize that that's just our responsibility to engage them in such a way as to teach them. And this is another one of the points. Don't set out to teach them. Again, if you're going to be critical, if I'm going to be critical about the church, and again, it's not to be critical, one of the things I think we can improve upon is that, boy, we want to get people in a Bible study. Hey, let's do a Bible study. We could do this series of Bible studies, or you could watch this series, or we could do these things. And that's kind of the push. Not really just engage them with where they are, with who we are and have the knowledge to do that can be a part of our reason for doing it. We're deficient. We can't do it on our own. We have to follow the script, which means what's our faith really? What level is it really? If we have to say, oh, okay, yeah, this page, this point, yeah, you know, did you fill out the multiple choice right? Did you get that? Right, let me check mine. Yep, you got it right. Good, yeah, your faith's come along. Not that kind of faith. Like a knows the scriptures, knows the stories, can use them, use their life to meet them where they are, and know enough about people, and to be grounded enough, no matter how busy life is, to realize that this is an opportunity, and there's a soul there. They're engaging me in this way. How can I best entice them, make an aroma or something that'll make them say, what, you got something cooking over there? I know I was talking about me being, you know, agnostic or atheist or playing devil's advocate, but man, that smells pretty good. What are you eating over there? Man, you're strong, you're healthy, you talk different. You're different. I want some of that. And I do think that we could engage people in a more purposeful way. Everybody that we encounter, when we leave them, they should think, boy, that's a really nice person. Oh, there's something different about them. We don't have to say, hey, where do you go to church? You want to do a Bible study? As soon as you get off work tonight, you can, but you don't have to. There's ways that we can set it up so that they have ways to see something in our life that they would want to imitate. Be conscientious enough and conscious enough to see where they are and what they're going through, to see little things about them that other people aren't noticing. Wow, y'all are slammed today. You're new, aren't you? I haven't seen you. Hey, take your time. Take a deep breath. Hey, it's going to be all right. I remember my first day on the job, I threw away a tip. Didn't even know it. Had to go dig it out of a dirty trash. You know, little things. Thank you. I was about to lose my mind. I was thinking about quitting. And I dropped the last order. Little things like that, even just the way we engage people, lets them know that we know them, see them, realize who they are. They're a child of God too. They're a creation of God too. They're made in the image of God too. Christ died for their soul too. God is no respecter of persons. He wants them there just as bad as he does you. And so realizing that he's bringing people, check this out, it's not citizenship. You know, how many people would just come rushing over? We said free citizenship to America with benefits. Woo! Hey, anybody cannot just become a citizen, can become inherited, be adopted by the royal lineage of eternity. The sovereign God Almighty is calling us to be a part of his eternal family. Think about that. I have been, because I've been thinking about faith and where it should lead us. Where it doesn't sometimes. And I'm asking myself, why? If I see something that's broke, if anything in my life, if I get to it and I can't find it because I didn't put it in the right place, or I need to fix something until I can get to that, whatever's in its way, I just go ahead and take care of it right now. I'm so far behind on everything, it's like, okay, this is my new principle. If I'm looking for it, or I'm going to get it, anything in the way that I didn't do the first time, didn't get cleaned up, it's getting done. And so I'm doing that in my spiritual walk too. And I realize that there's so many ways small ways that God made us in our physical bodies, in our mental bodies, in our emotional bodies, in our relationship and societal bodies to experience, to grow, and it should never end. It always involves pain, giving up something, or patience. Usually a little bit of all of it. If you want to stretch, guess what? It's going to hurt, especially if you hadn't done it in a while. You want to save money and you hadn't done it in a while? Ooh, you're going to have to do out some stuff that you've been spoiling yourself with. It takes pain. You want your relationship to be good? Well, guess what? In order to be good, you're going to have to go through some challenges together. It takes that in order for us to grow. And so we need to realize that some of that's going to be a process, and that the better that we can engage people in life and set up a safe place so that they can question and reason and don't get defensive and, well, you know, we don't believe that. We don't do it that way. Well, why not? Because I can promise you there's somebody else that will answer their questions. It's like teenage kids when they come ask you certain questions, you answer them. Because I can promise you they're getting false information or ungodly information somewhere else. So we should be comfortable and confident enough and knowledgeable enough to know how to engage people, so that even if we have to say, I don't know, let's find that together. But that we can reason things together with them. We show them we're not ashamed, we're not afraid, even of the things that we haven't learned yet. It's okay not to know everything. And to make them want to engage us and to reason on their own. We don't do enough of that. We teach and preach instead of help them learn, so that Jesus by himself at 12, what? How does this kid know that? What? I hadn't even thought about that before. That's how we want to be, spurring our kids along, even if they're older kids in the faith. Question, comment? Right. Mm-hmm. Right. If you already asked that question, you've already answered it, answer it again for the first time. You'd be surprised at how much you can learn restudying something. And sometimes when people ask me how I feel about a certain area, I'll say, it depends on which idea I'm looking at this week. Because I flip-flop on my side sometimes. But I do remember it wasn't the first Sunday, it was on into the semester on a Wednesday night with a study group, and I said, hey, y'all we gonna stop and go to church? They said, oh, we're not going. I remember thinking, that's weird. I remember walking to church that night thinking, you know, I didn't have to come tonight. First time in my life, 19, about to be 20 years old, that I ever even contemplated that there was a choice not to go, because that's just what we did. But then I had to start saying, is this my faith? Do I believe this because I've been taught this? Or do I believe this because I've studied what needs to be studied, and this is what I believe in? So one of the other areas was helping study and worship be something that's enjoyable. And so we shouldn't just drag them. We should make them get to the point where they want to go and be a part of the worship and engage with other people. And so if we do it the right way, not only as parents but as a body, then we can hopefully make children want to be a part of this feast, and we can want it a little bit more ourselves. Because if we teach this too, it's another point, and then I'll close, is to teach them to learn, not just teach them. Teach them to grow in their ability to learn on their own. And so if we are showing that we can constantly learn, then that'll be something for them to imitate as well too. All right, we'll talk more about it Wednesday night. Any other questions or comments?